Barbarian. The word conjures images of wild warriors charging from dark forests, shattering the gates of Rome with bloodied axes. But what if that was only half the story? What if those we've called barbarians for centuries were far more than invaders? What if they were kings, lawmakers, artisans, and visionaries? From the Visigoths to the Vandals, the Ostrogoths to the Franks, and the feared Huns who came thundering from the east, these so-called barbarian kingdoms were complex civilizations that reshaped Europe, and their mysteries, their forgotten languages, their hidden treasure hoards, their sacred myths, are only now being unlocked. This is the story of lost kingdoms and buried legacies. This is the untold history of the barbarian world. To the ancient Greeks, the word barbarian meant foreigner, someone who did not speak Greek. To the Romans it was worse, a label for those outside the civilized world. Those who lived beyond the imperial borders, who did not obey Roman law or bow to Roman gods. But beyond the prejudice lies a vast, diverse world of peoples and tribes, stretching across the forests of Germania, the plains of Scythia, the shores of Britain, and the highlands of Iberia. Expert interview, cultural anthropologist. The term barbarian really flattens hundreds of distinct cultures into one stereotype. What we're dealing with are dozens of tribal confederations with complex identities. Some more democratic, some ruled by kings, others by councils of elders. Their beliefs were tied to nature, their myths orally passed, and their social structures surprisingly advanced. Many had codes of law, hierarchical leadership, complex systems of trade and diplomacy. The 4th and 5th centuries AD, a time of crisis for Rome. But for the barbarian tribes, it was a time of movement, of opportunity, of destiny. Historians call it the migration period, a great wave of tribal movements that would transform the face of Europe. Rome hadn't been sacked in 800 years. The shock was enormous. But for Alaric, this was no mindless destruction. It was the desperate act of a betrayed ally. They seized Roman granaries and fleets. They controlled trade in the Mediterranean, and they too would sack Rome in 455. Though contrary to myth, the destruction was restrained, even negotiated. As Rome weakened, the tribal confederations became kingdoms. No longer nomadic, they began to build cities, issue laws, and forge new identities, not as conquerors, but rulers. Theodoric issued Roman-style law codes in Latin, employed Roman administrators, yet kept his Gothic troops loyal. He was a cultural bridge between worlds. Clovis's conversion was strategic genius. By embracing Catholic Christianity rather than Arianism, he won support from the powerful church in Rome. Beneath their weapons and war cries was a rich spiritual world. Before Christianity, most barbarian tribes practiced paganism, not chaotic or primitive, but deeply structured around cosmology, sacrifice, and natural rhythms. Expert interview, religious scholar. There's continuity between what we see in barbarian myths and later folklore. The fair folk, the wild hunt, sacred wells, these are echoes of pre-Christian cosmologies. Visuals, artistic renditions of Valhalla Druid rituals, runestones, cauldrons, torques, and votive offerings from archaeological digs, Super Norse and Germanic beliefs, Yggdrasil, the world tree, Odin, Thor, Freya, Loki, runes as sacred symbols. On-screen text, Super Celtic Druidism, oak groves, stone circles, and sacrifice. Belief in transmigration of souls. The other world, not heaven or hell, but parallel existence. On-screen text. From the Eurasian steppe came a force unlike any other. Swift, brutal, alien, the Huns, led by the man history would name the Scourge of God, Attila. Attila's empire was more than terror. It was a complex network of loyalty, tribute, and mobility. His power rested on speed, adaptability, and fear. He met Pope Leo I at the gates of Rome, and withdrew. Why? No one knows for sure. Some say divine intervention, others disease or diplomacy. By the 6th century, many of the great barbarian kingdoms had been absorbed, defeated, or transformed. But their legacy endured. Barbarian kingdoms didn't just destroy Rome, they inherited it. They created Europe. They came as strangers. They fought, built, dreamed, and ruled. They were called barbarians, but in truth they were authors of a new world. Their languages faded, their kings fell, their stories were twisted. But now, from beneath the earth and beyond the myths, the voices of the barbarian kingdoms rise again. The mystery is not that they vanished. The real mystery is how long it took us to listen.